For nautical archaeologist Mark Beattie-Edwards, wrecks at the bottom of the sea are a source of fascination.
Wrecks are little time capsules of an event that happened at some point in the past. You get a little microcosm of life landing on the seabed at one moment in time.
For the past few years, Mark and his team have been researching the wreck of a submarine named Holland 5, which sank off the coast of Portsmouth in 1912 and lay undiscovered until 1995.
The Holland 5 submarine is in amazing condition on the seabed. It sits bolt upright, so it sits like a submarine should, with its conning tower upright, its propellers still in place. It looks like a submarine, and when you visit it as a diver, it's quite an eerie thing because it sits there as if it should be moving, and it's now a haven for marine life. There are fish and crabs and lobsters all over it, so it's a really pleasurable experience to visit it.
Built in 1903, the vessel holds a very important place in naval history.
The Holland 5 submarine is one of the Royal Navy's first ever purpose-built and commissioned submarines. And submarine warfare from that point onwards for the Royal Navy develops as one of our principal mechanisms to defend our coast.
The sub's brand new technology would change the face of naval warfare. Because of its great historical worth, this is a protected site, and only those with a licence can explore it.
It's illegal to tamper with or remove material from that site unless you're authorised.
Mark's team had spent several years researching and exploring the wreck when one of them made a shocking discovery.
One of the divers came up. He said to me that there was a big hole at the front of the submarine and that the bow cap was missing. And then he showed me his video footage. He's swimming down the starboard side, so the right-hand side now of the submarine, and he's come round to the front. Because he's got some lights on his underwater camera, you can clearly see illuminated this big hole. It's where a torpedo would have fired out of, so it's got to be a fairly sizable to get the torpedo out. Every dive up until this point, the bow cap was completely covering it.
The missing part was a key component of the early submarine.
The part that we're missing, the bow cap, is shown very clearly here and shows the torpedo tube that would have been behind that. It shows us the opening mechanism a submariner would have had to turn in order to manually open the bow cap so that then the torpedo could have been fired out.
English Heritage is closely involved in monitoring and protecting marine sites like the one of Holland 5. Terry Neumann knows how difficult a task this is.
The difficulty with these wreck sites is that generally they're off the coast and underwater, and it's the general policing of those sites that is potentially a problem.
But whoever stole the cap must have meant business.
The bow cap was actually attached, physically attached to the submarine, so that would have required some sort of crowbarring to get it off, and then the use of a lifting bag, so an airbag using buoyancy to get that heavy weight to the surface to then recover it to a boat.
Mark is still puzzling over who would want to remove it and why.
In my mind, there are two scenarios as to what's happened to the bow cap. The first scenario is that it's been stolen by an unlicensed diver who first of all didn't have permission to even visit the site, and secondly wouldn't have had permission to make a recovery. Or the alternative is actually a fisherman who's trawling the seabed near the area has accidentally dragged the bow cap off in their nets.
That would also have been an offence, as it's illegal to fish at a protected site. But whatever happened, local people are saddened by the loss.
I think it's dreadful, really. If everybody was to go around and help themselves to all the bits of historical things there are, there wouldn't be anything for anybody to see.
I think it's very important for us to preserve, our cultural heritage for, future generations.
The bottom of the sea is an unexpected crime scene, a strange place to discover murky goings-on. But it's the desecration that most angers the nautical archaeologists, whose work it is to protect and preserve the wrecks.
The worst threat comes from unauthorised and unlawful salvage. People that have no regard for the history that these wrecks have to tell, but merely want to make money and exploit them.
The loss of the bow cap of the Holland 5 could be considered as an antisocial crime to me, because if it's been taken by a diver, then this is a deliberate act, deliberately targeting a historic monument.